Woo-wee! Do I have a huge video for you today, Nez Nation. President Biden's robotic presidency, essentially vacant and absent presidency, is all getting exposed as President Trump initiates the Autopen Apocalypse with this another massive announcement over Thanksgiving holiday. He was actually on the golf course when he posted this. God, I love this president. I'm going to share with you exactly what he said. And then I've done my due diligence and research. I'm going to talk to you about that in a second as well. We always go to the trusty outline, and then stick around because the House Oversight Committee has just released extensive footage of Biden aides admitting how they propped him up as he declined. Who was president for 4 years? They helped him with makeup, teleprompters. They limited his interviews, limited his events, managed his appearance, reduced his workload, avoided interviews, and even sought Hollywood's help when it came to the State of the Union. Wait till you see this bombshell video that I'm about to share with you. But first, I want to share with you the huge announcement by President Trump over this Thanksgiving weekend. President Trump posted this: any document signed by Sleepy Joe Biden with the Autopen, which was approximately 92% of them, is hereby terminated, and no further force or effect. The Autopen is not allowed to be used if approval is not specifically given by the President of the United States. The radical left lunatics circling Biden around the beautiful Resolute desk in the Oval Office took the presidency away from him. I am hereby canceling all executive orders and anything else that was not directly signed by crooked Joe Biden, because the people who operated the Autopen did so illegally. Joe Biden was not involved in the Autopen process, and if he says he was, he will be brought up on charges of perjury. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Trump is not playing around anymore, folks. This is getting, ever since this tragedy that happened to these two National Guardsmen, is it just me, or are you sensing a new invigoration in this administration? Pete Hegseth, Stephen Miller, J.D. Vance, Bessent, all of this amazing America First cabinet, it's like they've been electrified with a brand new, renewed purpose, and I am here for it. This is exactly what I voted for, and if you did too, let me know in the comments. By the way, if this comes to fruition, this could actually invalidate, because Ketanji Brown Jackson's Supreme Court appointment is now under scrutiny. Could you imagine, ladies and gentlemen, if this came to fruition? So I have done an extensive, I always give my research notes away for free. I'm not going to go through every single step of this, but I essentially cover what is the legal nomenclature, the legal precedent, proceedings, what can Trump nullify, what can't he nullify, etc., etc. But it all boils down to this. And by the way, if you want a free copy of this, I always give away all my research notes in full transparency. If you want a free copy of this, the link is in the pinned comment as well as the description and show notes down below. But essentially what this boils down to is if Trump can actually prove the 90% efficacy, or inefficacy, I should say, of Biden's Autopen signatures, the world is wide open. I mean, this can be such a huge reorchestration of what has happened in our country, and we can actually see major accountability of all the people involved in this. And so this is going to be really, really big. It all comes down to proving it in a court of law. And this video that I'm about to share with you, that was just released by the House Oversight Committee, to me is the most damning evidence. Hear it from the mouths of Biden aides themselves. Watch.
Has there ever been any discussion about distance, having distance being an issue for President Biden to walk or anything like that?
I think that was part of the same conversation, just minimizing the steps as we talked about.
Did anybody ever contact you and say, and ask you if the president actually was okay? He was doing okay?
Yes, I can remember like a donor. I can't even remember which donor. I can remember getting a call after one of his fundraisers. I can't place who it was, but I took the call, and that person was concerned.
What were they concerned about?
I think he had not performed particularly well, and they were struck by his use of the teleprompter in a smaller setting, which I explained was because we needed to make sure these fundraisers didn't go on too long, and it was hard to keep that discipline absent the words being on the screen. But it was all about, could he win re-election?
Did the donors' concerns, did they attribute those concerns to issues related to age or the perception thereof?
I don't have a specific recollection, but yes, that the president's age is the most difficult issue in the context of re-elect, or one of the most difficult issues. And his perception at that fundraiser was that he wasn't able to put those perception issues to rest.
But that was my view, was that the best approach for us would be to have lightened his scheduled load, and I don't believe I at least ever had success.
And when you say lighten his schedule load, do you mean fewer events in the day? Maybe you can expand on what you
Oh yeah, well what I meant was, sometimes it'd be fewer events a day.
We did have some outsiders at different points in the process. There's a guy named, I think I have it right, Michael Sheehan, who's a speech coach that has worked with President Biden for years. So he would come in towards the end. We had Steven Spielberg joins, I think for some sessions, I think around the State of the Union. And Jeffrey Katzenberg was also involved in some of those sessions.
What input did Mr. Spielberg and Mr. Katzenberg contribute?
It was typically around, boy, the language doesn't pop there, as there different vocabulary, or this is an opportunity to really slow down and deliver. So it was around delivery and language, not around policy in any way, shape, or form.
Did Mr. Spielberg contribute to any other speeches or events that President Biden would deliver over your time knowing him?
Yes, I can't recall specifically, but yeah, there were other times and important speeches, generally around I think post the State of the Union, around the campaign. He might have been involved in some of the debate prep, for example.
And is the answer the same from Mr. Katzenberg?
Yes, they were generally together.
Did either Mr. Katzenberg or Mr. Spielberg ever approach you and have a conversation about concerns about the president's either appearance or health or age?
They were, I remember, I think it was Katzenberg, not Spielberg, had concerns about the strength of the president's voice, that he wasn't loud enough. So I think that I remember Katzenberg bringing that forward. They both did weigh in on things like more casual events and take the tie off, which I wish I could do right now. But
what I can tell you, however, is that I think the key words here, meticulously staged, managed, are accurate representations of what it means to manage a principal. And so when you have a principal, like a member of Congress or a president of the United States, every single minute of their day has to be coordinated, has to be scheduled. And so that is not inconsistent with past practices for presidents or elected officials in my experience.
topics like that can be shorter and more crisp. There were discussions of should we get him into settings where he's not, how we're dressed today, or conversations about, makeup and things of that nature.
Applying makeup to the president was discussed.
Sorry.
Did you, who did you have that discussion with?
As I said, I know that was a topic of discussion. I was never in any deep discussions around that, but I was aware of the desire for him to, in public settings, make sure that makeup is applied, which, going back to my Obama days, that happened also. But there was, let's make sure that we have the discipline of that for public appearances.
Given that, I think that in 2024, the White House made the decision that the president was not going to do the CBS Super Bowl interview. And I think that's what you're asking about.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you could have asked me.
And why did you advise against in 2024? Let's start with that interview.
The first, as I remember, I'm going to have to remember this, it was going to be 3 minutes that they were going to show, and then an additional 20 minutes across their other platforms throughout the following week. So it really wasn't the huge interview that, say, Barack Obama had gotten when I was in the White House back then. But the second reason was a timing issue, as I remember, that we anticipated that her report was going to come out, and that we didn't feel, that spending, an entire interview before the Super Bowl talking about classified documents was going to help the cause too much.
When you say 3 minutes, do you mean that I'm really showing how little I know about this, and please educate me. When you say 3 minutes, the interview itself won't last 3 minutes, right? You're talking
And the interview was going to be longer. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, so were you concerned that the 3 minute clip was going to be not a good clip?
Well, we were concerned it was going to be a clip that for Super Bowl watchers was not going to be what we wanted to be talking about.
And by not wanting to be talk about, you're talking about the her report potential?
I'm talking, yes, about classified documents as opposed to, whatever else the president might have wanted to talk about. So that was the decision that nobody within the White House disagreed with.
We talked about the activities that the team undertook post that stumble. That was not a campaign event where that occurred, but that was applied across the board. I believe we touched on the fact that the president, driven by trying to get in and out of the fundraisers, would sometimes use a teleprompter at a fundraiser. But all of this was, how do you most efficiently use the president's time? And how do we avoid a potential of another stumble in what we talked about before?
Do you recall how many cabinet meetings President Biden held?
Overall? No.
Were there cabinet meetings, full cabinet meetings, that were outside of kind of the public view?
Well, he had multiple meetings with cabinet members.
I was saying kind of the big ones that had the TV pool in them. How many of those cabinet meetings did he have full cabinet? If you know.
I don't know. I mean, my memory was that they were about once a quarter, once every 6 months.
It's the age part of that, and it was around the topics that we were talking about. How do we get him more time to, do his reading? How do we make sure he has appropriate family time? How do we make sure that when he's in public, he's presenting clothing and other things at the very, very best? Things of that nature. About, ensuring that that he was, the stumble, the fall that he had, which could happen to any of us, right? That it not happen again or minimize the probability of that. And so how do you reduce the number of steps and things of that nature? So, the first day that, not even the first day, as I was leading up for Chief of Staff, unsurprising to me was we've got to work on the president's schedule. After the Obama administration, the president's time is the most important asset for the White House, and there's demand for many multiples of his available time. And how do you triage those requests? How do you build some downtime? How do you make sure that a president has enough time with family? So that pressure was part of my job throughout.
Around July 12th, I believe Senator Schumer contacted you and said, as it is reported, let me see Biden or I'm going to publicly request a meeting. Is that occurred?
Yes. I think we talked about that a little bit earlier. That Schumer really wanted a meeting, and we arranged for that in Rehoboth Beach.
I don't know how any Americans, specifically Democrats, who voted for Joe Biden can listen to that video, watch that video, and sit back with pride and zero regret about their vote for that man. I want to remind everybody watching, they ousted Joe Biden unbeknownst to him on a Sunday. Remember the moment that Kamala was anointed? She wasn't elected. There was no primary. Remember? Nobody voted for Kamala. She was anointed the nominee for the Democrats. This is a woman who has no qualifications. She destroyed San Francisco. She destroyed California with Gavin Newsom. She was a DEI pick for vice president. To Biden's confession, I'm not just saying that because I can't stand her and I think she's one of the most unqualified specimens to ever enter politics. Biden admitted she was a DEI hire. The only reason he picked her, let me be clear, the only reason he picked her for vice presidential candidate was because she was a woman and because she was a person of color, whatever the hell that means. There was no press conference, y'all. There was no official announcement. There was no White House statement. There was no presidential address. It was a letter signed by Autopen, posted on social media, on X. The guy, I can't prove this, the guy probably woke up and was told by his wife, you're not running for president anymore. Or God knows who, one of his aides. Can you imagine? I would give anything for a photograph of the moment that this vegetable in chief hopped out of bed and learned that he was no longer the Democrat nominee. I would give oceans of gold to just see the look on that dude's face. This is a calamity and a crime that is unprecedented. There is no comparison. Joe Biden was supposedly elected in 2020, although there's no way you can convince me. He got 15 million more votes than the Black Messiah, Obama. There's no way in a million years you could ever convince me of that. But it is clear with the evidence presented here. It is clear. And President Trump says 92%. I've done my research. I've done my due diligence. There's a lot of conservative pundits, channels, influencers, etc., who are saying that a federal judge came up with that number. I have to just be honest because I want to give you the truth. There is no federal judge. That's completely fabricated. No federal judge came up with that specific percentage. That came from Trump, but maybe he knows something we don't. But I just have to be honest. There's no verification that a federal judge said 92% of his Autopen signatures were null and void or not authorized by him. Now, if there's more to that, I will keep you posted. But the bottom line is, supposedly, allegedly, Joe Biden was elected president in 2020. But it is clear after all of this evidence coming out and being discovered and exposed, he wasn't in control of a lot. So who was running the government? We still have no idea. From 2020 to 2024, who was running the government? Who was making the consequential decisions that impacted billions of people, not just Americans, all over the world? That discovery could be the atomic bomb in politics, the likes we've never seen before. What a dichotomy, too. You've got a president who needed a teleprompter for a fundraiser in Biden, to President Trump, who answers every question, the most transparent president in the history of America. This guy has cabinet meetings every day, press conferences every day, takes questions from everyone and anyone every day, literally. And this guy needed a teleprompter for fundraisers. Are you effing kidding me? This is the difference between electing a real leader and somebody who they think we deserve, who they think can run our country. Not elected by the people, of the people, for the people, but the elites, the academics in sheep's clothing. And I've said it once, I've said it a million times. I know them because I've worked with them. I was a professor in these institutions. I was commissioned by my universities when I worked in the public sector to go to Washington. They're all academics in sheep's clothing, creativeless, lackluster, do-nothing ne'er-do-wells. That's what they are. They have no backbone. They have no creativity. They have no innovation. They're all pencil-pushing admins. Pure and simple, period, full stop. I can't wait to get your thoughts on this. Let me know in the comments down below. I mean, I'm out of breath. It's stunning what's come out, and I will definitely keep you posted on all the latest. Make sure you tap that thumbs up. It helps us out immeasurably. Even if you're watching on TV, you can do it with your remote. Check out these videos coming up on the screen right here, just in case you missed them. Tap my face right there to subscribe and follow. It doesn't cost you a thing. Turn on all notifications. And as always, may God bless you, and may God bless the USA and all who defend her. I'll see you soon.